Do you have a burning question for me to answer? Are you struggling with consistent positive cash flow? Are you just looking to turn your business into a money-making machine? It's your lucky day. Now doing this as part of the solo show, once we have enough questions, I've got enough questions from you, the listener, sent to me via email that I'm going to answer on the air today. So if you do have a question at any time, any day, any hour, send me an email, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. If you send it there, I'll answer it. And then it gives me another question to answer on the air that can help more people than just yourself. What's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maskill, where I focus on helping guide you to have a business that produces consistent, positive cash flow. In doing so, you will have the clarity and confidence that your business is headed in the right direction. Like I said at the beginning, today is a solo show. It is the first Monday of the month. And on the first Monday of every month, we do a solo show. No guests, just me providing you value. So the questions we're going to answer today, got like 5 or 6 of them. The big one to stick around for is how to implement performance pay. So that's a big thing, especially lately as PEs getting into this space in the last few years, really trying to make our business as efficient as possible and really giving our technicians an opportunity, and not just technicians, but mostly technicians, the opportunity to turn this into a career. So let's dive into that. For those of you that don't know me, I am Paul Maskill. I'm a fractional CFO for just companies in the trades. I've spent a long time in the trades, most recently owned an electrical service company that we scaled over 500% in 3 years. And then last year sold it and started offering fractional CFO work to companies in the trades. Long time ago, back in 2007, I used to work in finance after college, lived in Chicago, and then watched everybody besides myself and a few other people, a few of the lowest paid, newest guys, gals on the floor get laid off and realize that that's not for me. So last 14, 15 years, I've owned, scaled, and sold my own businesses, and I am here today to answer your question. So first question I got, we're diving right in. Quick cash flow fix. So this is a tough question to answer because there is no quick cash flow fix, because usually those cash flow issues took a long time to get to where they are today. If you are in a cash flow crunch where you were barely making payroll, it's not like that just happened overnight. It was probably a whole bunch of events that have happened over the last 6, 12, 18 months that are now putting you in this position. Unfortunately, I see this happen to a lot of business owners because they aren't doing fractional CFO work in their business. They aren't paying attention to the numbers. They're not forecasting and projecting and seeing these issues come up before they actually become an issue. So what are some of the quickest ways to fix cash flow? That's really the question. So try to give as much value as I can here. One of the quickest ways is pricing. We can change. The cool thing about being a small business owner, we can change our pricing today and roll it out today. Whereas big corporations, it takes them weeks, months, even years to change anything, especially something as complex as pricing. So fix your pricing. Look at your pricing. Look at your gross profit. Your gross profit will tell you if you are priced right. So what is your gross profit? Your gross profit, to keep it as simple as possible, is all the money that came in, so your revenue, minus your cost of goods sold. So what goes in your cost of goods sold? The two main ones are labor and material. So all your people out in the field and all the material they're using. And then there's going to be other miscellaneous things depending on how you like to set up your books. I like to include other things like small tools and equipment in there. You definitely want to, if you're pulling permits, you definitely want to include your permits in there. If you are using any subcontractors, you want to make sure you're accounting for that as well. So revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit. We want our gross profit to be at least 50%. Ideally, more if you're strictly service. In my opinion, a good or great service company has a gross profit of 60%. If you're in the construction space where you're doing a lot more new construction and install work for builders and you're doing some subcontracting work, probably around 40 to 45%. And the reason for that is there's just two different business models, to be honest. To run a service business, there's a lot more moving parts. You need a lot more people to support it in your office and all the other things. So that is the quickest way to fix your cash flow. Look at your pricing. If you are not at least 50% gross profit, I would say on average, again, it varies, but I would say 9 times out of 10, when I start working with a client and they have cash flow issues, the one of the biggest issues is the pricing. That's the quickest way to fix cash flow, is update your pricing. Now, don't just go raise it by an arbitrary number. I don't like when people tell you to do that because there is no math or strategy behind it. Make sure it's at the point where you can hit your gross profit target, so then you can hit your net profit target. Our net profit target should be 20%. So how do we get there? We're going to go revenue minus cost of goods sold gets us gross profit. Then we're going to minus office payroll. We're going to minus overhead. And we're going to minus marketing. And that gets us to our net profit. So that's really the quickest cash flow fix that you guys can implement today. So that's the answer to the first question. Second question is having trouble with recruiting. I talk to a lot of people. I get emails. If I could just find more people that actually want to work, I could grow my business. So even though I am a CFO, I have really in-depth experience operating successful companies, exiting successful companies. And a lot of it comes down to the numbers as well. So the numbers tell us everything we need to know. If we need to grow revenue and the only thing holding us back is recruiting, that becomes kind of a CFO strategy issue. So how can we fix recruiting? The biggest thing is shifting our mindset. If we focused on recruiting for employees as much as we focus on recruiting for clients or customers, we would not have a recruiting issue. Why? Because most companies only recruit, they only post job ads when they need somebody. So when you're only fishing when you're starving, you're probably going to end up eating stuff that you really don't want to eat. Just put it super simple out there. Whereas if you're recruiting all the time, building a deep bench, when it is time to hire, you have already filled your pond with fish that you enjoy having, and then you could pull one and put it into your team. So that's the first thing. So you always got to be recruiting. Now, treat recruiting like marketing. You've got to have really compelling ad copy. You've got to have a really compelling job title, not just, plumber or HVAC technician. Get their attention, stick out from everybody else, and then write your job ad to focusing on the things that people want in the marketplace. So what are some things people want? They want time freedom. They want flexibility. They want to spend time with their family. This is not the 1950s anymore, where the guy goes to work and they don't have to be present at home. They want to be present at home. They want to be present with families. They don't want to work overnight. They don't want to be on call. They don't want to work weekends. They also want to get paid a good amount. They want to be valued. They want to be appreciated. They want all the things in a career that corporate America has more or less provided for people, where we need to start doing that in the trade. So hit on those pain points. Now, again, that's just the first step. We can recruit all day, but if we don't know how to train, onboard, and get those people up and running, we're going to have a problem. So a lot of times we hire people, we don't have an onboarding process. Day one's just go get in the truck. There is no training. There is no support. There are no scorecards. There is no accountability and all the things in place. And then we wonder why they're not successful. So we want to have those things in place too. So that's the answer to question number 2. Question number 3, how do we avoid competing on price? I hear from people every day that, man, I just don't know what to do. Everyone's, they're cheaper than ever. They don't have as much money. They're just price shopping, all that. My answer to that is build enough value so your price is irrelevant. So I've probably hit on this on the show before: speed, quality, and price. You can only pick 2 of those to compete on. So if you're going to be successful and not compete on price, sidetrack here. If you compete on price and you win that race, you're the first person to go out of business in the race. Congrats, you're out of business and your employees are out of a job. We don't want that. So we want to compete on speed and quality. We want to get things done quickly. We want to get to clients' homes quickly. We want to get it done right. Our clients will pay a premium for that because they don't want the handyman that can do it quickly and cheaply, because we're gonna suffer on quality, and we don't want the one-man band that's really good, but he's not going to get out there for a couple months. So your ideal customer doesn't want to deal with the handyman. They don't want to deal with the one-man band. Now, with that being said, you dial in to that ideal customer. Now we got to serve and build that value. We got to answer the phone, with a catchy saying. We got to answer the phone every time. We've got to stick to our appointment times. We have to call them when we're on the way. If you guys ever follow Tommy Mello, he says, offer to bring them coffee. So do things differently than everybody else. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Bring a floor mat. Bring shoe covers. Have a nice looking uniform. Have a nice looking van. Have a proper sales process. So that way, by the time you get to the price, the customer's like, wow, this experience has been amazing. I don't want to call anybody else. I trust you because how you do anything is how you do everything. So that's my quick rant on how to avoid competing on price. Two more questions here. What are some of the biggest bookkeeping mistakes that you see? So I get questions of, I don't know if my bookkeeper's doing things right or not. I don't want to bash bookkeepers. There's some great bookkeepers out there. However, when you really start niching down into industry specific stuff, there are just many bookkeepers that don't understand the trades as much as you or I do. So, what are some of the biggest bookkeeping mistakes that you want to look out for? I'll give you a couple here real quick. Number one, make sure your cost of goods sold has the right things in it. Number one, make sure your field labor is in cost of goods sold. So all the people out in the field delivering service, their payroll should be in cost of goods sold. A lot of times it's all lumped together in office payroll or operating expense. And that's not going to allow us to know if we are charging correctly, if our guys are efficient, if they're productive, and if we're actually making any money. So that's one of the biggest bookkeeping mistakes I see. Another one that I see, especially as companies are looking to sell, they do not have their CRM. So they don't have their Service Titan or their Jobber or their House Call Pro connected to QuickBooks Online or Xero or whatever accounting software they're using. A lot of bookkeepers say, oh, that's just an extra step. We don't need to do that. It double books income, blah, blah, blah. However, if you want really good data, you need your CRM hooked up to your accounting software. That's my opinion as a CFO. That way we can get a good idea of what your receivables are, what your payables are if we're tracking that, what's your average ticket without having to go in the CRM, all the invoices that go out. And it really just gives you a lot more clarity on your business. So those are two of the biggest mistakes I see that are easily like super easy to fix. Another one that I like to do, it's not necessarily a mistake that people aren't doing, but when it comes to spending on advertising, I don't like just lumping it all into one account that says advertising. I like to have sub accounts of advertising so we know what are we paying our marketing agency? What are we paying Google? What are we paying for direct mail? What are we paying for yard signs and all those things? So then we can get a better idea of where our marketing dollars are actually going. Because when we just see a big lump number on the P&L, we don't really know and don't have much clarity in that. Yes, we can click into there. Yes, we can do other things, but that makes you as the owner have to do more work. And if you have to do more work, you might not do it. So that's that question. The last one that I mentioned at the top, performance pay. How do we implement performance pay? So first step is to figure out what is important to you and what is the most important drivers of that role. So going through just a couple of roles, what's the most important role of a CSR? Their number one job is to book the call. So their number one job is to make sure the person on the phone that just called in has a great experience and they schedule an estimate, a service call, a diagnostic, whatever you want to call it. That's their number one job. They're the first salesperson in your organization. So let's put a performance pay incentive around how they're booking calls. However you want to do it, number of calls they booked, as long as they hit their call booking rate goal. We definitely want to make sure they have a call booking rate goal, which basically means, what is the percentage of calls that actually get booked? If you get 100 calls come in and 90 of them book, your call booking rate is 90%. So in my opinion, companies should be around at least 85% as your target. Obviously, sometimes in busy season, you can't hit that target. And then in slower season, you'll probably blow it out of the water. So if that's our biggest thing is call booking rate and number of calls booked, come up with performance pay around that. Maybe they get a dollar amount based on how many calls they booked as long as they achieve their call booking rate. So that's a CSR. If you look at dispatcher, depending on how your organization is set up and if you have a dispatcher, if you're in plumbing, electrical, HVAC, garage doors, maybe even handyman service. So different services where we've got people going out selling and doing work the same day. In my opinion, dispatcher's number one job is to maximize revenue per day. So give them incentive around that. So if they hit all their revenue goals, they should get a bonus. And then last but definitely not least, service technicians, install technicians. How do we implement performance pay around them? So what are the most important things to you and your organization that they have control of out in the field? So call booking rate, average ticket, getting Google reviews, or not call booking rate, sorry, field closing rate. So what are they closing out there? So field closing rate, average ticket, revenue per day, number of Google reviews, things like that help drive revenue for the business. Come up with those things. So depending on how your business is set up, most people are going to do a percentage of, they're going to do percentage of the revenue that they sold and a percentage of the revenue that they installed if they're service techs or maybe they get, depending on the task, they get a certain dollar amount, piecemeal rate, piecework, that type of stuff. The easiest one to make it super simple for your technicians, to be honest, is the percentage. So give them a flat percentage. If they sell something, give them a flat percentage. If they install something, if they sell and install, they get both. And then if Google reviews are super important to you, give them, a certain dollar amount for Google reviews, that can go into their compensation package as well. You might be asking, well, what's a good percentage? Every business is a little bit different. I like to keep everything under for labor out in the field. I like to keep all in labor under 20%. And then if you include payroll tax, health insurance, benefits, I like to keep it under 24%. So that means if someone is selling and doing work, so say they sold a $2,000 task, they sold it on the spot, they did it on the spot, they collected payment for that $2,000 task, they're going to get a percentage of that $2,000. So keep it under 20% is my recommendation. Everybody's a little bit different depending on what the other performance pay is in there. Like I said, if they're getting Google reviews and whatnot. So that's how you really implement performance pay. What you'll realize if you do the math on that, if your technicians are not able to, in most parts of the country, make $100,000 a year, if they're really good, your pricing is probably off. So that's performance pay. So hopefully y'all got something out of that. How do we fix our cash flow quickly? What do we do if we're having trouble recruiting? How do we avoid competing on price? What are some of the biggest bookkeeping mistakes? And then lastly, what is and how do we implement performance pay? So that's all I got today for you guys. If you do want to connect, like I said, if you have a question, send me an email, paul@thebluecollaradvisors.com. Send me an email there. I'll answer your question in email, and then I'll also probably bring it on the air as well so I can help other people out there as well. And then lastly, if you do need help with your pricing, I do have a completely free pricing guide. It's a workbook. It's got a video walkthrough. It's got a PDF walkthrough. Just go to thebluecollaradvisors.com/price. Go there, download it, totally free. Give you a ton of value. It'll allow you to figure out what your billable hourly rate needs to be. If you're estimating install type jobs, you can put in all the material and all that and figure out what you need to charge for that. The key to all this, guys, is just get started. First step is know exactly what you want, know exactly where you're going. Let's start working backwards to figure out what do we need to do today. That's it. Have a great day, guys.